Hi, it's a beautiful day here on Long Island, and I figured I'd take the opportunity to film outdoors, which I rarely do. I hope the extraneous noise is not annoying, but it was just as beautiful yesterday when I attended an impromptu lecture at Stony Brook University, where I generally try to keep an eye out on things as to feminist issues, feminist lectures and events like that, so I could, get my viewpoint known. And what happened yesterday was the executive director of UN Women gave a lecture at Stony Brook to discuss gender equality. And this was on September 12th, 2016. And she's also, this woman, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I would pronounce it Ms. Nakuka, but they pronounced it Miss Nuka. And she's actually the Undersecretary General of the UN. I guess that's probably the second one in charge. But actually, last year I attended a HeFerSheers event at Stony Brook, probably the same time of year as this year. And I made a video of that. I'm going to link down in the low bar my video of that, where I gave some of those people a hard time. Because what I hate is that feminist controlled events such as this almost all the time go by the wayside. There's no dissent. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let things like that happen without anybody dissenting. So this is what I did. What happened is they allowed for submitted questions through email and Twitter, because what they've been doing a lot lately, especially at these controversial events where they generally don't want to have a discussion, they really just want to tell everyone what they want and goodbye, and with no discussion. And in a university environment, that's absolutely crazy. So I was surprised that this year, last year at the HeFerSheers thing, I had, as you'll see in the video, I had to raise my hand at the end. What, no questions? So they begrudgingly allowed my questions, and I really hammered them in that video. But this year, they allowed for questions submitted by email and Twitter, which I submitted. Here's two questions I submitted. This first one through email. I didn't want to get too radical, because otherwise they wouldn't even pick my question to be answered. So I sort of asked a broadly generalized question, but I wanted an answer. So this first question, specifically, in what ways are women disadvantaged academically and socially compared to men? See, because this lecture supposedly was about exactly that, how women are disadvantaged academically and socially. And that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I could have ate their lunch, with that. Academically, almost in every country, women are the majority in colleges. They get better grades. So this other question, a different question, I tweeted. What's the UN's position on FGM and MGM, which is female genital mutilation and male genital mutilation? So I was glad I was able to submit some questions. And so I got there, and it's a beautiful day, as I said. Brought my camera. I was allowed to film last year's event, but I set up my camera, all set to go. I'm filming a little bit. It's funny, I was able to film Michael Kimmel sitting just to the left of me. I didn't plan it this way. I picked an aisle that was good for me and for the camera, and looking over, I see this guy. I don't really remember how I recognized who it was. Of course I recognize him. So sure enough, there he is. And I'm thinking to myself, gee, I hope he doesn't come over and ask me about, what my interest is in this and why I'm filming, because I can't stand the guy. So anyway, I was able to film him. And then that's really all I was able to film, because someone comes over to me and says, there's will not be any filming allowed. I said, okay, all right, whatever. So sort of the pressure's off me, as long as I don't know. I feel more bold if the camera's not going. I don't know. This way, I could either take it or leave it. But what happened was, of course, they have video cameras going. One behind me, two to the side of me. So actually, I hope I'm in the official video. You know, because I was able to speak my mind. I spoke to this gentleman, a young man beside me, before the event started, because you know me, I can't keep my mouth shut. You know, first of all, I'm asking him, "Are you here? You know, because you're going to get a course credit?" Because a lot of these events are attended, well attended, because they get course credit for it. You know, because most of these people really don't care about these issues. You know, there's students who just want to get on with their lives, but. So he was interested. No, I spoke to him. I gave him the website, A Voice for Men. He plugged it into his phone there, found it. So we have one little seed I planted in this guy's mind, because I couldn't shut up about men's rights. You know, we had some time, so we're waiting for the event to start. I'm speaking to this guy. So anyway, after they started, I realized that they said that they're actually going to take questions from the audience. And I said, "Oh my God, this is going to be perfect for me, because they won't be able to duck my question. You know, if I ask it right there live, I mean, they'll have to answer me." And they had mics set up on the side for the questions. It was just perfect for me. As a side note, before I even entered the event locale, it was at the Stoller Center. There was something that I've been keeping my eye on. The Gorilla Girls, okay? They have an exhibition that started actually today, but they had it set up yesterday while I was there. So I bopped in there. I knew that they had an exhibit going, and I popped in there, and actually they had it all set up already. All the Gorilla Girls posters and the history of them. I'll put the information in the low bar. But one of the things they have is a blackboard, and they have the title of it, or the request is that if you were a feminist, if you became a feminist, what would you do? And they had chalkboard there, and the blackboard is mostly empty. So, my God, I mean, they must have known I was coming. So what I wrote down on it was I'd stop both FGM and MGM. And of course, as feminists, they know exactly what I'm talking about: female genital mutilation and male genital mutilation. But of course, I in capital letters, I put "and" in capital letters. You know, emphasizing the point that both are wrong. And you know, if you're against one, you've got to be against the other. So you know what was strange with these questions? They actually had us ask questions like in a batch, like 3 or 4 questions at once, and then they were going to answer them in batches. So I was a little bit nervous about that. I'm saying, "Oh my God, are they going to just..." Because my question, as you'll see, was very hard-hitting. You know, I did stumble a little bit at first, because I did want to make a better point as to, you talk about gender equality. If you actually did get gender equality between the sexes, women would lose rights. That was going to be my point. And then I went into men's reproductive rights and male genital mutilation, which I did make those points. But I meant to link that to, you talk about gender equality, men have more to gain than women. They don't realize this. They're so blind to the other side. No, but I think I got my point across, because as you'll see later on, she did address my questions, at least as to the male genital mutilation thing, and she embarrassed herself. She sounded like she was out of the 19th century, you know, saying that there's evidence that it prevents STDs, and from the audience I just had to speak up again. And you'll see, it's really good. I made some good points. Another thing I was glad that happened. I hate when I attend these things, and I am the elephant in the room, which I was here, because all the other questioners were not going to dissent. They're just like going along with the bullshit. And I was the lone dissenter. And of course, we're leaving this venue, and there's a couple of hundred people exiting, and they heard me. And I'm thinking, is anyone going to say anything to me? You know, I mean, are you all sheep? I really was going to ask them, are you all sheep? But there was one brave girl, a young woman, feminist, who said, are you the guy who talked about the male genital mutilation? I said, yeah. And then so we had a really nice talk, actually. She was an open-minded feminist. She still stuck to her feminist root credentials, but we had a good long talk, probably at least 20 minutes. It was a lively talk. I guess because it attracted a Stony Brook police officer who was, I could see, looking at us, watching us. I guess he was making sure I didn't get out of hand, you know, of course. You know, these MRAs are. But I made some good points to this woman, and she agreed that male genital mutilation is bad, although she did think it's not as bad as FGM. But I said it's the same human rights violation. According to one may be different degrees, differing degrees, but I would say that the MGM is worse in the degree that it's going on in every country that we know, and it's not illegal. So I'm glad I was able to make my point. And what happened was, I did film it, but under my seat, so no, I did not really film it. You've got the audio. I'm glad I got the audio, because that's really what was important, and I got my point across, and these people didn't go unchallenged. Hopefully I made it into the official video. If I do, put that in the little bar. Okay, take care.
About the fact that, and I can't remember the exact number, but maybe was it 87 years to see equality in leadership, or did I have that one wrong?
55.
55 for equality in leadership.
87 to equal pay. That's a lot of money women are not getting.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, and I think it's something that, again, helps inspire us all. That in the United States right now, we have a chance in terms of leadership. What do you think about the possibility of electing the first female president?
Hey, look at me. For gender equality, the fact that in the world there's only about 20 women that are heads of states. Can't be that there's only 20 good women in the world and the rest of good guys. So we do need to increase the number of women that are leading nations, and we know that they will make a difference. So it would be something that for us as young women would be tremendously exciting to see a woman in the United States. In the UN, we also have an opportunity, because this is the end of term for our Secretary General, and we have 10 candidates, 5 men and 5 women. We're hoping that member states will do their best to support women. It's looking difficult, but we're asking women to stay in there and to fight with everything they have.
So I think we can take some questions from the audience now. I think there are microphones I would ask people to go to. Please identify yourself, and again, really try and keep your questions relatively brief so many people have a chance, and students, I particularly encourage you to come forward and ask questions. So we'll begin with the young man right here.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us. And President Stanley, thank you so much for providing this lecture series for us. So, both of you have mentioned that college students are more open to women's rights and gender equality. But right now, we have national statistics that show that 1/5 of college students are sexually assaulted in their time at school. How can we as students who are here and who are passing the torch down to our future students and classmates, do things to eliminate that number completely.
Should we take a few questions?
Okay, just take one, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yes,
I'm Gary Costanza. Ms. Nuka, I'm glad you mentioned that gender equality is a two-way street, but it's a lot worse than I'm sure you're thinking. Today, in this country, men don't have reproductive rights, and as far as female genital mutilation, that's against the law, but male genital mutilation happens every day in this country. I want to know what HeFerSheers or the UN is doing to actually bring about real gender equality, give men reproductive rights as women do, and also protect baby boys from genital mutilation. Thank you.
On the issue of men and female discrimination, as I will imagine when you are talking about male mutilation, you are probably talking about circumcision of men.
Yes.
I don't know enough about the US to have an opinion, but I can tell you about my own country where FGM is illegal, but circumcision of young men is not illegal because our medical practitioners, the WHO, based on the research that they've done, and I'm checking on how it happens when boys are, and I'm including my own sons in that list because I also supported for them.
That's not true.
It has helped to reduce the
That's not
infection
true.
of HIV and AIDS
That,
amongst
that's
young
just an
men in my
excuse.
country.
That's still genital mutilation.
Yeah, but I think it is important because
It's a human rights violation.
well,
let her
yeah,
speak.
yes, but I mean, I think that we actually need to protect. I don't want my children to have HIV. and
Wear
AIDS.
condoms. Wear condoms.
Well,
That's the answer.
No, it's not the answer for everybody, unfortunately. It's not the answer for everybody.
You know, they're doing it right across the street here. Mutilating little boys.
I think you need to bring in the law enforcers
Yes.
into it. So
Yes.
I would support that where there is a violation, especially when the children are underage,
Yep.
where the parents are not involved, where the medical profession is not involved, where you do not have ethical and hygienic conditions, when you cannot prove that there is a result that serves any purpose, absolutely, I would agree. On the issue of preparing how to make sure that we deal with gender stereotypes as girls and young women, I think that it's important that we make work as girls and as boys, as young men and as young women, so that this does not become a problem of women and girls only. This is a societal issue, and we need to bring both men and boys, boys and girls together. It is important that we always speak up when we see double standards and gender inequality being accepted, being normalized. It is important that in our institutions, especially where we are, we point out these issues and we engage with the relevant authorities to help us to address these issues. Because there is hidden bias in society. And the only way we will create a body of knowledge on how to deal with this is if we do this over and over and over again. This is something for which there isn't a shortcut. We are then mobilizing men, country like Egypt, working very hard to get men in the mosque and everywhere in society to tackle this issue. We want men to be the ones that come forward and say, I will not marry a child. I will not beat up a woman. I will not tolerate or accept sexual violence against women. So that the prevention is actually coming from the potential perpetrators themselves. So again, I don't have a clear answer to that, except to say there's just a lot of work, enough for all of us to do much more than we are already doing on all of these issues that you have identified. I hope I've answered all the questions.
So that was inspiring. I want to thank you so much for coming to study with us.